Welcome to the latest edition of Leadership Actually. It's not love, it's leadership. Welcome, Lisa Powney.
Welcome, Lee Rogers. How the devil are you?
I'm good. Bit of a crazy setup this morning, so behind the scenes that no one's seen. But other than that, the messy bits, yeah. But other than that, really well.
Good, and
really good.
How exciting that we're here today.
We're very close to Manchester City's ground, the E8 Stadium, but we are at the home of British cycling, and what a privilege it is. I'm so excited about today's episode.
I was absolutely in awe when I turned up. What an amazing venue you have here, absolutely fantastic. Although I'm not really in my cycling gear, I did feel that as people passed me. I'm like, I'm not dressed for it.
I love the merch. The merch is amazing. Really love the merch. And look at this car. It's brilliant. We'll get John to explain that
we will,
as we do.
We'll welcome you in a minute.
So what have you been doing this week?
I've had a really good week, and we always say we're busy, but good busy. It is good busy. So I got to see one of our amazing guests, Stacey Copeland, in one of her events, and that was absolutely fantastic. And hearing a lot about the ways of the world and the challenges that HR teams and HRDs and leaders are facing, and I think it's quite a tricky time, so trying to think about how can we help them and support them, and on that vein I launched a bit of a project. I'm going to do a bit of a LinkedIn Live project, but for HRDs, so I'm excited about that. So yeah, lots of exciting things, and we've had a few pieces of work that projects that we're really excited about, planning those as well. So yeah, it's been a really good week. And at home, Freddie lost a tooth last night, which, if anyone knows me, I can't do blood, teeth or anything. So he's like, Mummy, my tooth's stuck, it's gone the wrong way. And I couldn't look at it and I couldn't help him. So I had to get a toothbrush in there, not looking, and pull it out that way.
I've just got a bit warm you saying that, honestly. I'm like, there'll be a first aider outside. Ever. I'm a bit like that with splinters, to be honest.
How about you?
Lots on, really exciting, and I think a few themes have come out, like joining the dots with stuff has been a common theme. Like lots of organisations they'll look at a problem and tackle it, but there's so many departments or people doing great work. But actually, I think where I've started to add some value is to have an overview of going into organisations and pulling those together a little bit, and I think that I'm really enjoying that. I'm loving the exec coaching that I'm doing and helping people. And I read an article about this, about exec leadership and coaching, thinking it's not all about the technicals, about strategy. It's actually about the human element, and it ties into what we're talking about, in terms of allowing people space, allowing people for their well-being and the need to perform at the very best, and what are the mechanics of that often, but also recognising when they're pushing too hard, or what's the effect of being an amazing leader to the detriment of your family, or showing up and being present. And I think that's the stuff that really is important. And don't get me wrong, I don't get this stuff all right. Only last night, Ella, my daughter, said, Dad, just don't go on your phone for the next half an hour.
When they say that,
it's the dagger, isn't it? But actually she was absolutely right. And we've got this box, I think I've talked about it before, but we've got a digital detox box, and we put the phone in the box when we're going to watch something.
Oh, that's a really great idea.
And it's out the room. And that just helps me, because I am like, business owner, like what's the latest, and it can get addictive, and I'm training myself not to be that guy.
Yeah, love that. Good tip. It's a really good
for
tip.
Free, put your money away.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's welcome our guest, Jon Dutton, who's been highly recommended from episode 4, series 1, by the brilliant Chris Brindley. Welcome, John.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Recommendation from Chris Brindley. It's a big plaudit, and welcome to the National Cycling Centre.
Thank you. What a lovely welcome we've had as well. Thank you. Lovely cup of coffee, and thank you for helping us set up in our messy way. We loved it.
Now you've done so much in your career, right? I could try and reel them all off. Do you want to just go through a bit of a précis about what you've been involved in and some of your passion projects along the way? But before you do that, Lisa always has an opening question to get guests going for the messiness.
I'm nervous now.
I know. No, it isn't. Don't worry. It's the starter question. It's before we dive into those things. Leadership actually is all about really the messy moments as well, because it's such a, it can be such a hard challenge and we don't always get it right. So we like to start on the points of where we might not have always got it right. So you're going to tell us a bit about how you have thrived and maybe survived in the leadership events in sports world. If you had a bloopers reel or there was some outtakes, is there a particular moment you think would definitely get the cut?
I think it will be quite long, Lisa. Look, we, as human beings, we make mistakes every day, don't we? And I'm a big believer in learning from mistakes. A blooper reel, I'll go back to, I think it was 2012, we were working on the Rugby League World Cup. We were just about to announce that the Principality Stadium in Cardiff would host the opening game. Absolutely, fantastic stadium between England and Australia. And we had a big press conference and we had the traditional backdrop board and we had all the important people at the front, and we put two things on the backdrop board. First of all, we put the logos of each of the nations, and secondly, we put the strapline, and the strapline was "Be There." What's not to like about "Be There"? Particularly from a 16 perspective. Unfortunately, "Be There," the "be" and the "there" were quite close together, and from a distance, it looked like "Bet Here." Just above the chair at the time, and secondly, the Cook Islands logo had a fertility symbol. Other people might describe it as a phallic symbol. So we managed to frame the chair by "Bet Here" and a phallus. That wasn't one of my high points of my career.
For everyone to see.
For everyone to see, on show to the world. But I can reel off so many different things, and I think it's just a message to us all, like, don't take yourself too seriously. Stuff happens, and we all survived.
We did. Great story. We're all on the same playing field now. I love that, John. What a great story.
There's so many things just go into my head about what I've done wrong, but it's about you today, John. Do you just want to just give us a quick summary, I guess, of the major roles and organisations you've been in, and like what's got you to where you are today in this amazing building?
What a privilege of a career. My 31st year of working in sport, mainly professional sport, and I'm really humbled by the opportunities that I've been given. Rugby is my sport, both rugby union and rugby league. I wanted to be a professional rugby league player. I actually played one game, realised I wasn't good enough or brave enough. So at university, did a sport management degree, and then thereafter got first opportunity on the European Golf Tour. We were talking earlier, weren't we, about the Ryder Cup in '97, which was a real highlight, and then on to football with the FA, seconded to UEFA for the 2003 Champions League final in Manchester, AC Milan and Juventus, and then from there a lot of time in rugby league, 12 years, 3 World Cups, more latterly British cycling. In between, as seconded to Tour de France in 2014, I had the ridiculous job title of Director of Readiness. It's fair to say we weren't ready. It happened anyway, and 4.5 million people stood outside the road and had a great experience, and that's really relevant because we're about to stage the Grand Départ in 2027, again bigger, double the size of that. So travelled the world. I'm from the north, grew up in a really loving environment. My dad was a head teacher, my mum was a nurse, and I think that stoicism and hard work has been installed in me since. But I should never forget the amazing opportunities that I've had, and I am really privileged.
Wow.
Just listening to that, and I've got tingly, right? I can see how you and Chris get on, because actually not similar, or not the same path, but actually I guess what you hold dear, right? And that humbleness comes and shines through. So I just wanted to kind of recognise that, because it's, and the messaging of don't take yourself so seriously, people watching or listening to this, I think they're really valuable, above all the other stuff and the shine and the titles and the gloss and the most people would give their right arm to be involved in one of those institutions, but I love the grounding of what you're saying. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and Chris Brindley is an amazing human being, but I think the thing that binds us together, and we've been through some tough times together, is that values approach, and I reflect back to the Rugby League World Cup, which was not just 7 years of my career, it was 7 years of my life, and the ability to focus on making a difference off the field of play as well as on it. That's what really galvanised Chris and I, and through some of the tough times, to keep reminding ourselves of our values, our purpose, and I really carried that through to British Cycling.
And you said something there around making a difference off as well as when you're in the work, and noticing around the British Cycling, one of your big purpose is the social impact. You really want to make a difference outside this building, and outside the sport. Where does that come from, and what's the driver for that?
There's a lot of me in that, and I have the privilege to work with such a talented team, and we have a new strategy. Our purpose is to bring the joy of cycling to everyone. And if you think about that, it's quite hard to disagree with that. It's not a contentious statement, and indeed it's really compelling. And we found more so on a commercial journey that walking into the room saying this is our purpose, and then backing that up with the actions that we take. And our social impact, probably my personal passion, I think this is probably where I was born, where I live, and my family, social mobility. So I think the fact that where we are born plays such a pivotal role in our lives, that stubborn inequalities still exist, I just find unacceptable. And using the power of cycling, 27 million people have got on a bike in the UK in the last 12 months, 27 million people, so almost half of the adult population. And if we weren't thinking about what happens off the field of play, I think that would be irresponsible.
Yes.
So we're binding the two things together, and we're trying to celebrate leisure, recreation, family rides, fun, liberation, freedom, everything that a bike can bring. We're still quite interested in our performance aspects, and we are phenomenally successful with our Great Britain cycling team, and then everything in between. So if we can use the bike to help change people's lives, to make a positive impact, and most importantly to focus on where inequality exists, then hopefully we're making a difference, we're making a societal contribution, we're getting more people on a bike, and we're still winning quite a lot of gold medals as well.
Amazing. And it is such a great purpose, isn't it? It's very simple. We have a lot of those complex ones, but when I read it, it's like to exist, we exist to bring the joy of cycling to everyone. It's such an, as you said, you can't disagree with that. And we'll talk about what things you might be putting in place, if those things are successful in 5, 10, 20 years' time, what difference do you hope that makes to the UK and beyond?
I hope that we continue to inspire people to get on a bike. I think through our amazing riders and athletes, and there's a staggering alumni of people that have come through the doors of British Cycling. Laura Kenny, probably the last of the golden generation to come through, but we've got so many young talented riders like Emma Finucane, who went to Paris, won 3 medals, our women's sprint team, phenomenally successful, and we know those incredible people are inspiring more people to get on a bike, so we want to continue to do that, and none of that is new. What perhaps is new is the contribution towards society, particularly from a health perspective. So if 27 million people are riding the bike or have ridden the bike, that should be contributing to the health agenda, making people happier, both from a physical but also mental well-being perspective. So many people talk to me about the mental well-being benefits of going out, getting fresh air, riding or riding at home. So I think the health bit is what we're going to focus on. I would like to be quite ambitious and say perhaps that could make a contribution to productivity in the UK and to the growth agenda, because we're doing something at scale, and if we can do that and also focus on our 4 outcome areas, which are social justice, social mobility, social cohesion, and tackling inactivity, if we can make a demonstrable contribution to those, it's got to be authentic. This can't be about PR and making us feel good. I would reflect on we've made a contribution, and someone will follow me as the next chief exec. Our board will be replaced, our executive team will be replaced, but if we're really building a platform and taking what I think is a transformational step to contributing to society, then I think that's a good thing. And it doesn't stop us. I mean, some of the internal conversations, I think when I first came into post 2.5 years ago and had a vision, and I could only deliver the vision surrounded by talented people, and a lot of people thought, well, maybe that means we have to stop doing things, and it doesn't mean we have to stop doing things. We can do things in a different way.
Yeah, amazing. And we're talking to our leadership population, or the people who look after our leadership, and you did mention those 4 pillars of social change, some of our leadership will be thinking about that, but also there's quite alignment to transformational culture change in organisations. Could you tell us a little bit more, for those who don't know, those 4 pillars that you use here to try and make that change?
Yeah, if I reflect back to 2.5 years ago, and British cycling had a number of challenges. A lot of the reputational challenges are in the public domain. It's very hard to get away from them. Financially strained, like many other of our peers in this space, and culturally probably a few challenges as well. So the first bit is to really galvanise the organisation. We've got a huge modernisation programme that is across every single bit of everything we're doing. So of course, digital transformation, but it's all predicated on a greater return on the investment. So we're investing a lot of our capital reserves, and we want to see that make a difference, to be more efficient, be more agile, and thinking also of the culture of the organisation. And then on the societal piece, so having the Tour de France in 2027 will allow us really to exponentially or expedite that in a way that we wouldn't have been able to do. But the 4 pillars: social justice, we have an amazing para team. We know that they're incredibly talented human beings, but they face challenges in their daily lives. So we want to campaign for a better society for people with disability, and also people just face barriers. We know from a social care perspective, a lot of people in social care, the main point of contact is their carer.
Yes.
Their carer is effectively paid to be that person's friend. That's quite sad. And if we can make a contribution in that space of addressing isolation and loneliness and inspiring people. So social justice, social cohesion is about bringing communities together.
Yes.
We deliver big bike races like the Lloyd's Tour of Britain, which we know hundreds of thousands of people stand at the side of the road, and that's a great excuse to bring people together. I remember fondly in 2014 when we did the Tour de France, the biggest project we did was knitting. So
Wow.
knitted bunting was the thing that brought communities together across
fantastic.
Yorkshire, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Intergenerational and large elements of civic pride, so people knitting the bunting to display in shop windows across their towns and villages, and it's things like that. And actually the excuse, if you like, was that bike race was coming, quite a big bike race, but the prospects of bringing people together. So we want to do that from social cohesion, social mobility. I'd like to think that we can make a difference in employability and skills. We've got an enormous number of volunteers, so big programs to recruit more volunteers, give them great experiences, and hopefully help with employability and tackling inactivities, as it says on the tin. Focusing on perhaps those that are inactive. Got a really exciting product that we're going to launch in the new year, inspired by Coach to 5K.
Nice.
Some people might say actually directly replicating Coach to 5K.
But it's been so successful, hasn't it?
It has been so successful, and putting that on a bike, but also perhaps being less prescriptive. We're not going to say to people you have to ride specifically different. So it's a behaviour change programme targeted at those that are inactive, with lots of support mechanisms, and hopefully getting people riding and bringing the joy of cycling.
That is a really exciting. I'd definitely be on that, definitely. It's been a long time since I've properly ridden, and my son would really love to, so great ideas.
And embracing bikes in every way. E-bikes are a force for the good. They've obviously had a bad press over things that are simply not e-bikes, but bikes where you can have people with different skills, different states of health, maybe people with a disability, to almost level up that opportunity for people to ride together.
Yes.
That's a great thing. And also people that ride indoors on whatever choice that they ride, that's also a good thing. So I think from a British cycling mindset perspective, we just want to wrap our arms around everyone, give people a great experience, and perhaps be a bit less prescriptive around the competition element. The talent bit and finding the best talent will continue at pace, but yeah, just be a bit, maybe try and democratise cycling if that's
I'm really inspired by that. It's absolutely fantastic. I love all those initiatives. It gets me really excited about cycling.
And what sounds really compelling, right? And you've made it sound very easy, and like a lot of people I can almost hear joining the dots or see joining the dots. What have been some of the barriers to get to that point? Like you said, you were here 2.5 years ago. I'm sure it's not been an easy sail through that progress.
Yeah, and we're not there as well, so I'm happy to share our experiences and our wisdom, but with the caveat of still plenty of a way to go and plenty more learning for us. I think one of the big things we did when we introduced our strategy, our previous strategy had been written, it was a very professional piece of work, but it had been written by a consultant, and there was obviously internal, external consultation, and it looked great. It didn't feel when I came into the organisation that it was truly owned by the team. So as we prepared for a new strategy, we said we're going to do it ourselves with really talented people director that led that piece of work, and it came from within. And I asked people to adopt 4 behaviours. So the first one was to have a growth mindset, which and sort of 2 years into that, 18 months, 2 years in, was a bit easier than saying that on day one. The second behaviour was asking people to feel liberated. So as human beings, we think of all the reasons why we can't do things. Well, let's just imagine all the reasons why we can do things, and then of course we need to make it practical and sustainable. The third one was entrepreneurship, and what I look at across the organisation, there's already loads of entrepreneurship, particularly in our Great Britain cycling team, immense amount of innovation and entrepreneurship. But let's just embrace that, and let's have that agility. And then the fourth area was then to ladder back up. We already had our purpose, was everything must ladder back up to bring joy of cycling. And you know, I'd like to say we've made a lot of people sit up with our strategy. It's not full of any KPIs. There's no operational plan that's attached to it. It's illustrated, and it was done very purposely. And it's ours. It's our strategy. It's our blueprint. It's our North Star. What we've then done subsequently is write a theory of change to attach to that. So we've got the what we want to do. The theory of change is the how. And it has been an education for me, for the team. It's not all gone smoothly. Not everyone's sort of got on board and accepted it, but it's been good fun, and I think it has been quite compelling from an organisation. I don't think anyone in the organisation can say I don't understand the direction of travel. And we have 3 objectives: get more people on the bike, give them a great experience, be a leader on the world stage, lots of medals, but also we are the largest cycling federation in the world. I think it's 202. So by any metric, whether it's turnover, membership, medals, we are the biggest. So we also want to give a bit back. We've travelled quite extensively, linked to the government's international relations agenda around soft power and diplomacy. And then the third area is, as we discussed, social impact, framed by a few guiding principles. Can't lose sight of we need to be financially sustainable. It's all well and good having these big ideas, but you've got to be financially sustainable and more. So early days, Lee, lots of learnings, but being really clear as a leader. I think role modelling is so important. You know, standing up in front of people, and if you're going to say this is the way forward, you need to back that up by the actions that you take.
It resonates so much, you know, because we've talked on this podcast about ideas. And ideas are great. It's actually what you go and do with those ideas and how you implement them. But you've also talked about sustainability. So even from a guiding principle of we've got an idea in an organisation, you know, in whichever field you're in, making it really clear, because you've talked about clarity as well overall. And then how do you all embrace it, like co-create it, embrace it, versus like something being done to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm hearing that's so powerful, because often, and I'm sure you've come across this, Lisa, where people don't understand it and they have to navigate it in a really kind of convoluted way. You've actually said it's these like guiding principles, these behaviours, let's go for it. Like that sounds really clear and aspirational and inspiring actually, because it then makes the implementation of that easier, not easy. You know, and I've come up with loads of ideas. I can recognise I've just messed up just because I've not even often thought about the financial impact enough. Yeah. You know, I've come up with a social aspect of what I want to change. The mistake I made before that, though, was thinking about legacy. So I always thought about legacy because that's what I've been brought up on and heard in the Olympic arena. So I love the fact that you talk about social impact. I guess, would you share a little bit of your thinking around that?
Yeah, and probably use the example of the Rugby League World Cup. So in 2015, we knocked on the door of government and said, look, we've got an idea. We wanted to stage a big global tournament with men, women and wheelchair athletes all on the same platform. That was really important to us from an inclusivity perspective, but also we want to make a difference. And that at the time was such a thing called Northern Powerhouse, that you may remember. And we met with Treasury and they supported us financially, and that was amazing because a sport that in the previous World Cup, the example I gave in 2013, I think we received about £1 million worth of government funding. On the basis of that conversation, our business plan received £25 million worth of government funding. So it was sort of aligned to a political agenda. Rugby league is a sport of the North, but it was always about making a difference off the field of play. And we designed, curated a programme that was multifaceted, but we started off with what are the problems we're trying to solve. So one big problem in rugby league, facilities, the capital facility stock really poor. And we knew we had to be realistic on the money that we could leverage, but we secured £10 million and we turned that into £27 million worth of investment through making the money work really hard, and that's gone a long way, and that's gone into all sorts of different capital facilities and has made a difference. And it's been so uplifting going back to see my son plays rugby and going back to the clubs and seeing like the branding and the sign outside the clubhouse and the new equipment that people have purchased. Also, we looked at mental well-being, and we had 21 host towns and cities, and we mapped. We knew that rugby league had made already a significant contribution to men's mental well-being, and that was because of a really sad, tragic set of circumstances with one of their athletes who died from suicide. And we mapped the 21 areas, and we found that I think it was 20 of the 21 were all above the national average for suicide. So then we designed a mental wellbeing programme. We targeted it at teenage boys, and it was the sort of interventionist approach to give people tools to hopefully help them going forward, and more, and can reel off a whole lot of things. But it was problem based. It wasn't us coming and saying we've got a World Cup, this feels great, let's just go and do all these things and feel good about ourselves. It was based on problem statements. So then to reflect back, and we tried to measure it in a qualitative way. I remember a meeting of bringing all the great minds together from all the funding partners. I think we had university people there, and I said, I want to measure things in a qualitative way. And everyone looks at me like I've got 2 days. Can't do that. And we found a way to do that, and that was in sort of looking back at the evaluation makes me really proud, because it's about experiences we give to people. It's about stories. It's about human beings. And I always said, if we can positively, permanently change one person's life, that's the business plan for doing it. And we can all come up with big metrics of people coming through throughput, people participating, but it was that changing people's lives. And we had a young man, I'm sure he won't mind me telling the story, called Oliver, and we appointed Oliver as our inclusion ambassador. When we first met Oliver, he was in social care. By the end of the tournament, he was living an independent life. He got a job, and he put that down to his experience that he had with us. And
wow.
that was, and he came to us at the end of the tournament saying, "You changed my life." Like, oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's been an inspiration to keep going.
I can feel that, John, definitely. Wow, that is, and I guess I was going to ask around if you're brave enough to go, well, we're not going to have quantitative KPIs, how do we know that we're successful? But I can feel it.
And not easy. I mean, we're in receipt, I'm the accountable officer for millions of pounds worth of public funding that we receive, very gratefully, from UK Sport and Sport England, and clearly funding partners want to know you're spending the money wisely, but as inevitably people are focused on the big number of making a difference. And it's just, if I could turn the clock back maybe 15 years ago, it would be great to say we're going to do a longitudinal study, and you could really see, because change takes time, and societal change takes time, and you've got to invest. And I'm really enjoying working with our funding partners, and some of the ideas that they have for the future are really compelling, because as a nation, I mean, just listening to Radio 4 this morning, it makes you pretty despondent, doesn't it? And you look at, as a nation, the challenges we face, but also across the world. and if we as leaders can make a contribution, if everyone makes a contribution, it's going to make a difference. If we just make a contribution on our own, it'll make a very marginal difference.
I've been having conversations with CEOs this week around that very thing. So maybe it's after this podcast to talk about some of that stuff. But I'm curious around, you talked about the intervention approach. Why target 15-year-olds in the instance around mental health as opposed to going and dealing with 30-year-olds or 45-year-olds?
Yeah, we work with an organisation called November, obviously coming up to the high point in November, and like they're the experts, and they said we have some investment, we want to partner with you, we want to make a difference, we want to use your brand, we think the money is best invested in this particular target group. Who am I to tell them any differently? And one of the really the hard things, I mean, the rugby World Cup was hard overall. We had the pandemic and we didn't deliver it when we were supposed to deliver it, which was certainly not joy us in any way. But one of the hard things is that they were firm believers that these sessions had to be delivered face to face, and our delivery started during lockdown. And so then we had to find a way of doing some online workshops, but then going back. And a lot of the sessions are actually delivered in changing rooms. Like something that's really the stuff that they do is really compelling, and it's delivered by former athletes, people who have been through challenging times to that very specific targeted group. And if we reflect back, I'm not sure how we would find the information, but if we reflect back and say that intervention saved a number of lives, that's pretty compelling on its own to deliver it. And we know that the male suicide rate is higher than in women, and we know predominantly it's young men. So if that intervention is like getting early, give people some tools, and we live in a tough society. I've got a 16-year-old at home and who plays rugby and loves rugby, and you just look at the world in which he's grown up, and you both reference your children. It's a very different world to the ones that we grew up in.
Absolutely.
It is, and sorry, just to add, like I will share the phenomenal work I've seen externally that rugby league clubs have done. You said they were right at the heart and centre of communities. They really are, in a way, bigger than football clubs actually, irrespective of their capital or investment. It's really felt, and actually some of the professionals that represent those badges do a phenomenal job in the effort that they put aside, but also the community workers. Warrington Wolves is an amazing example, I think, of that.
Absolutely. I think sporting foundations do amazing work. I grew up in Leigh. I still live there. I've been 45 seasons, a season ticket holder of my team. and I look at Leigh, 45,000 population. Was a big part of the Industrial Revolution, had coal mines, and now all that's gone. And you look at some of the challenges in a town like Leigh, rugby league is a shining beacon of positivity, and it's intertwined in many people's lives, and I've experienced that. No one needs to tell me about the power of sport. I can see it living and breathing, and it's just then the foundations that then go and work day in, day out, doing all sorts of different things, and we're really privileged in Leigh. Got some amazing facilities. My wife works or volunteers at the Youth Hub, where people come along and have great experiences, and it's just that sort of stuff. If we can contribute as sport, sport can help positively impact people's lives.
Absolutely, and rugby I think is founded in community. I guess that's why it's it's part of the makeup of that community. Probably more than a lot of sports actually. Kids and family all communicate. There as a community, and sometimes we've lost some of that. So I think
absolutely, and I think you find a point, Lisa, is that like the world has changed as well, and that's why from a cycling perspective, if we can bring people together. On leisure rides, just riding however they want to ride. You don't have to wear lycra or have an expensive bike to enjoy your time on a bike. And also at British Cycling, we've got multiple ways that you can ride a bike: BMX, BMX freestyle, cyclocross, mountain bike. There are so many different ways, and it's just that bit about bringing people together, and the community cohesion piece, which is important to us. I just think it can make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, a lot of the conversation today, you have talked about change, you know, and the need for change and the transformational change. And then you mentioned about your own theory of change that you brought here.
Yeah.
What is different about that? What was it that you were trying to do? Because there's lots of theories of change out there, you know, and what's different about it, and what can we learn from it?
Yeah, I've used a theory of change before, and I've seen, first of all, it gives you discipline. If you're outcomes driven, if you work back from the outcomes of that's what you want to ultimately achieve, then it's easier then to work back to how you're going to do that. And we were at British Cycling really conscious that we wanted, our strategy, we wanted it to be a public facing document, we wanted it to be really ambitious, and to describe the things that we're going to do and the sort of journey that we're on, but it didn't really identify the how.
Yeah.
And the theory of change is the how, and we've actually spent a bit longer than I expected, which is fine because we want to get it right, because it's an enabler. It will help the team deliver against the strategy. So it's really simple, it fits on one page. I am a man of simplicity. We say everything for me has to fit on one page. And the theory of change, when we publish it, will, and it will work back from, we've got 3 outcomes: getting people on bike, give them a great experience, lead on the world stage and social impact. That's great. How are we going to do that? And then it will work backwards to the start, and it will the path will lead back to joy, to bring joy of cycling to everyone. So I would encourage people, if you haven't used the theory of change before, and there's loads of, it can look very complicated.
Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be. I think you can probably put it into 4 columns, start with the outcomes, then lead to the outputs, with your inputs and the stuff that you're going to bring to the table. And I've used it a lot, and I found it really quite powerful, and really it gives you discipline to be able to then to, if you wanted to add some metrics to it, you can do that as well.
Brilliant, yeah, and I think that's really important. People won't know where to start, you know, and there's lots of change that, you know, are facing people, so it's good that they got, and it's still work in progress, so it's almost not out there yet.
Almost.
I want to do a bit of a reflection, actually. So we've come into, you know, your amazing offices, and you talked about something in the public domain, and I guess, you know, we come in as the public, and we walked in and you've got your team in today, and the buzz, and I already said this to you, is amazing. There's a real positive vibe. You can just feel it as you walk in. It feels welcoming. It feels like people are, you know, really cohesive and talking to each other. We had an amazing welcome from you, and then the first thing that we see is your strategy. We didn't know, but the first comment I made to Lee was like, wow, there's a amazing strategy. Well, I didn't know it was a strategy, but amazing on the wall. And the big thing that came out to me was, you know, co-creating together and, you know, bringing that together. So that was really public. And then, you know, talking to you, I don't want to make you blush, but the authenticity that you bring as a leader is really humbling and really inspiring. I can feel it, I can hear it. Every time you talk, you say we instead of I. You know, it is all about we. And, you know, once you were in here, and I'm sure you've done that from other areas, you brought in your principles. So I'm really interested, as I believe you're an authentic leader. I felt that. Where does that come from? You know, how did you define yourself as a leader, and how have you then brought that into your work?
Well, first of all, thank you. That's very humbling in terms of your experience here at the National Cycling Centre, and culture is so important, isn't it? Go back to the Peter Drucker quote, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Absolutely. And I am a big believer in that. So strategy on direction, we need that. But culture is, someone said something to me a few years ago, leadership is about how you make people feel. Yeah. And that really resonated with me. And as a leader, you know, you can read all the different leadership books and all the theory, and there's a lot of really great stuff out there, but it's about living and breathing. It's about being a role model, it's about being a good communicator, and hopefully what I've tried to lead from the front in here. But I'm surrounded by super talented people, and I use the analogy all the time of, if we were a football manager and we selected 11 goalkeepers, pretty sure what the result would be. The same if we selected 11 strikers. And I've inherited a team. The big difference between this role and my previous role, I was there on day 0 of the Rugby World Cup. Yeah. And bizarrely, it was a totally bizarre set of circumstances. I appointed the board, then went out to recruitment for a CEO, and then ultimately, thankfully, appointed me. But I was involved in the early days of all of the recruitment. So we built from the ground upwards, whereas here I came in on day one and I didn't know anyone. Never met anyone in the organisation before. I inherited a executive leadership team. I'd met the board during the recruitment process. So all that was a bit weird and a very quite a radical difference. But what I've worked on is trying probably back to some of the principles, like make people happy, feel supported, liberated, and agility. Like we are, blimey, we're not a 9 to 5 organisation. We've got a para team out in Rio at the moment. Our Olympic sprint team are going out, the track team are going out to Santiago. Like the competition is relentless. And we have a lot of people out in the regions. We cover the whole of the UK, the whole of GB. So it's like culture is really important. If you are out in the field or if you're in the office on a day-to-day basis, how can you feel connected back to the centre? And we get stuff wrong, and I'm sure that maybe people who will reflect thinking, yeah, what about that and what about... There's so many examples of stuff that we probably haven't done as well as we could do. Where did it come from? My family's had such a incredible impact on my life. My mum and my dad hugely supported my wife, who we've been together for 30 plus years, who's been so supportive, and my career has taken me away a lot. You know, I've travelled a lot on the European Golf Tour. We were in a different place every week. I mean, it was very early into our relationship of getting married and starting a family, and being away every week was quite challenging.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time in Australia working in rugby league, etc. So all of that's come from my family and experiences. I'm still the same person that I've always been, but I've been influenced by the experiences and the people that I've met. You talk about Chris again for a second. People like Chris who have come in, was my chair, has had huge influence on my outlook on life. My current chair, Frank Slevin, I'm sure Frank won't mind me saying that he's a very different person to Chris. He's got a very different outlook on life, but he's given me so much, and I think we make a pretty decent team. I've got a soft contract with my executive team, which is TLC, not tender loving care, which is trust, loyalty, and then the C you can cheat a bit if you want on the C. So it's about communication, it's about challenge, it's about curiosity, and I put that up on day one because that is my soft contract.
Nice.
And I think trust is a superpower in both life and in work. And I think once you build trust, I think you can do anything. I think once trust is broken, then you're in a bad place.
That's what my nana used to always say to me.
She was right.
She did. No, that's actually the leadership career I've had for 20 odd years. Like, get that bit right and take people as you find them and give it. And if it's destroyed, then it's a big way back, right? But it's the fundamentals. Like, it's so enlightening to hear that. And I love the thing around effective challenge as well, because I think the more I've learned about kind of the executive world and then was in it myself, it's not about all agreeing. It's not about it being a cosy thing that everyone is harmonious. Actually, it's about how do you be effective.
Yeah, and I would like to lead by consensus. Sometimes that's just not possible, and that's, I guess, why you are the CEO, why you are in that leadership position. And sometimes you have to make tough decisions, unpopular decisions. I think where that arises, you've just got to be a good communicator. And I keep saying to our team, I think we are really good communicators internally, but that's in our gift. Like, there's loads of stuff that will happen to us, like the impact of, we talked about it this morning, the impact of the employer's NI on the organisation. Like, that's happened to us and we've got to react to it, but the communication element is in our gift. And just to go back to your previous point, Lisa, I would regard myself as a complex problem solver. And the more complex a problem, the more fulfilling it is for me. So my favourite saying is, without challenge there is no achievement, and I truly believe in that. And I've come into this organisation that had challenges. First interview question in the recruitment process, why do you want the job? And I said, serendipity. I said, I love cycling, I'm based in Manchester, I can see the organisation has challenge, and I think I will be at my best with challenge. And I would like to say, metaphorically, I quite like being punched in the face. Because I think that, when it's tough, when it's really tough, that's when I think I'm at my best. Now, I'm not quite sure how sustainable that is, or how good it is for your mental well-being, but I just, yeah, I don't think I want to be here on in any other position in a sort of steady state and being well remunerated to just keep the wheels turning. My challenge is what really appeals to me, and the more difficult that's all.
I've got one question, and then I promise I'll pass over. What would your wife say about you, Jon?
What would my wife say about me? I think we're very similar in northern values like hard work, stoicism. Hopefully, I mean my friend Kevin Sinfield, I'm sure people will recognise Kevin, just an amazing human being. And I remember Kevin saying, "You've got to be a champion at home first before you can be a champion on the field," and that really resonated with me. And it's hard, isn't it, when you spend a lot of your time away from home when you're trying to build a career. But I think my wife, who's been an incredible support, would probably define me as a hard worker, maybe even hard work. Slightly different thing. But yeah, I'm also all in. I don't do anything by house. I would rather just invest everything I've got into one thing. And the Rugby League World Cup, it became an obsession. And I'm not sure how healthy that was, certainly in the last few months. And really quickly, people don't know, we had to postpone the World Cup. We had to face a really big decision. We did that. I offered to resign at the time, so we pushed it back by 12 months. I felt like given everything I could have got, and I spoke to two people, one being Chris Brindley, but the second my wife, and she said, like, "What are you doing? You invested 6 years of your life, like, what are you doing?" And after feeling sorry for myself, then dust yourself down and get on with it. And I think that's a bit of a family value, is just stop complaining, just get on with it.
Nice. Going through like complex change, I know you thrive on it, but it does take a lot out of you as an individual, and a lot of our leaders out there have a lot of complex change that they're trying to navigate. How do you keep yourself sane? How do you keep ensuring that you're still happy, because you want a happy team and you want to ensure it, and people see it if it isn't there? What do you do to look after yourself?
I think it's a really, really great question. I'm a big believer in, and we work in sport, just because I'm in an office or in the boardroom, I should still be preparing the same way as our athletes prepare. I'm certainly not as good on a bike as any of those. But just looking after yourself, all the basic stuff, eating well, getting exercise, sleep, all of those things. I think whilst we almost, they're like the hygiene factor, of course we should all be doing that. It's really important, and I know I like to cycle, I like to run. I know if I go a number of days without taking any exercise, I can feel it. I can feel it in my body, and I think in my running, it's better for my mental well-being, it's for my physical well-being. But I think you've got to then turn up. I've never turned up any day at British Cycling and thought, right, what am I going to do today, or not being motivated to walk through the door, and that's a privilege. That is a privilege, and despite we've tackled some tough stuff here, we'll have some more tough stuff ahead. But I think the key for me is where you can see people with a smile on their face, where you can see people, you can just not just see it, but feel it. And that is, I think what we are doing is making an impact. When I came in 2.5 years ago, first 2 weeks, we announced a restructure, made people redundant. Went through a year of no pay awards. We had some really quite challenging things to tackle. And that hurts, and you can see that we measured it from a culture survey perspective, that people were a bit broken, a bit unhappy. It was really tough, and what we're now starting to see is the culture results improving. People, whether it's emotive subjects like pay, or coming into the office, or all of those thorny things that we all have to contend with. You won't please all the people all the time, and I'm absolutely fine with that. But I think if we can please the majority through the actions that we take, that we fair, and that we do genuinely care about people and treat people as human beings, that's probably not a bad starting point. But none of that is a revelation, is it? That a lot of that is just common sense and being a role model and getting on with it.
Yeah, and being human. I think that's really important. Sometimes we forget that when we're getting all busy in our lives. Listen, Jon, we could talk to you forever. We have so many questions, but I'm going to have a sneaky last one, my last question. So when we came to, you'd had a team talk or a team meeting. Give me a little bit of insight into Jon team meeting? What are like the staples that you might do to like team talk? I'm thinking.
So we make sure we always bring the whole organisation together every 2 weeks, which is quite a big deal in terms of people literally all over the world. But we always start with celebrations. We always like to celebrate people's achievements. We like to just keep people informed about the stuff that's happening. So I did a State of the Nation this morning. We've got 15 big projects, just a quick whistle-stop tour, and then we always have a few topics that people hopefully can get stuck into. Today we were talking about our pay award, so that's obviously an interesting subject, which certainly not everyone will be in agreement with. But again, just try and front it up, answer people's questions, and make people feel valued. And the vulnerability aspect of human beings, like, we should never forget that. We might come across as confident. No one knows what's going on in people's lives, and to try and keep the organisation moving, but celebrate that human element. And I'm so proud of the people we've got in our team with so much talent.
Wow. Jon, there is so much for people to take from today. It's been such a joy. It's been a joy to really talk to you. I know I have taken lots, and I'm sure our listeners. Any final thoughts from you, Lee? Wow.
It's been a privilege. Genuinely, I think that's my overriding. I'm going to watch it back a few times, and like I did with Chris actually, and just cipher through, because I think this you give so much that you have offered today, and you said it's common sense. In my experience, it's not always common practice, and therefore there'll be some things people watching this, listening to this, that I think will resonate with what they do, right? And that's the whole purpose of doing this. The other element is going, like, we've not always got it right. You know, leadership is hard. You do have to be vulnerable. You do have to lean into stuff. The fact that you're up there leaning into about pay tells me everything I need to know, and I wouldn't have thought any different, actually. My final question, and I asked this to Chris, is why you sat in the seat. Who have you encountered in your career that you would think would be brilliant in the seat there, that you could help?
Oh gosh, we've talked about two amazing people in Stacey Copeland and Chris Brindley, but I think you've had both as guests. I think an individual that will make a really interesting conversation is Jason Brisbane. I don't know if you have come across Jason. Jason is the Chief Executive of Wheelchair Rugby. He's based in Manchester, former NFL player, amazing person, amazing backstory. So yeah, I would encourage you to keep the Manchester theme going, and maybe have a chat with Jason.
Great stuff. We'll be putting your 24/7/31 to help us make that happen.
my pleasure. And thanks so much for the opportunity, and it's been a really great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
As ever, thank you for watching, for listening. We hope that you've got a lot from today's episode, and find us next time on Leadership Actually.